I'm writing this as a last-ditch attempt, and I'm a bit rushed for time, so I apologize if this is a bit jumbled, as it's almost midnight. Right, I need to give you some context. I've lived in New Zealand all my life, never staying in one town or city very long, but one thing I always told myself was I would never return to my hometown of Lathaven, a small town situated right under a well-renowned ski field. I'm getting off track. One thing I was always curious about was the disappearances. Every night, at exactly midnight, a shriek, a scream, I don't know how to explain it. Something between a dying cougar and a wolf's howl. Regardless of what it sounds like, it really scared the shit out of me as a child. But eventually, we just got used to it. One thing I never got used to, however, was the fact that every night, a few minutes after the ominous howl, a shriek could be heard. A very, very human shriek, but never the same. Sometimes it sounded young, sometimes old, and the person fitting the shriek was always gone by the time dawn rose. I never truly questioned it though, thinking maybe it was some animal that sounded human and could mimic. That alone was scary enough for a 5-year-old, but what truly made it sink in what was happening was when I was in year 6th, or in 5th grade for you Americans. My best friend Tim disappeared after a very loud childlike scream had been heard the night before. You see, he lived next door to me. That's how we met, after our fathers went to a barbecue and started talking. After that, we were inseparable. I think I finally realized that day that what my naive self had believed to be people moving away wasn't the case, and that my parents had told me to calm my young mind. The dawning realization was the day I vowed I'd leave as soon as possible and never return. But first, I needed answers. Quickly I found no one was going to be volunteering any information, and certainly not my parents. I never did find out much from my snooping, but I think at some point or another I lost interest and just accepted it. I grieved my friend and moved on after that, but the dread within me never went away. It never settled no matter how many nights I was awoken by screams. I didn't wake every night. Sometimes the screams were further or closer away. I was 18 when it happened. I jolted awake and was instantly on my feet when I heard the terrible howl. It was right outside, likely in our backyard. Now was my chance. I dashed over to my window, adrenaline pumping. But when I got there, nothing. I went to lay back in bed, heart thumping still, when I heard a creak. It was barely noticeable, but it was there. Normally, I'd assume it was normal house noises, as there was a slight breeze outside, but this was not a normal night. The howl, or whatever it was, never sounded that close. I sat up, too scared to move. I felt like a 5-year-old child once again, all the fear bubbling back up. What happened next is something I will never forget. In moments I was up out of bed, grabbing my baseball bat and storming into the hallway. My ears rang from the loud, fear-stricken cry I had heard from my parents' room. I ran in to see my mother huddled in the corner, curled in a ball and shaking. Tears dripped from her eyes, her hollow eyes. I don't know what she saw, but after that day it was never the same. I went to the police the next day and filed a missing persons, but I knew nothing would ever come of it. My father, the one who taught me to shave, the one who brought me my first beer and my first suit, he was now a memory. A painful memory that I'd been reminded of every time I saw his face on the community board. Big red words reading "missing" underneath. We all knew that he couldn't be found though. The police didn't even look anymore, because they never found anything. The last time I saw my mother was 2 days after my father was taken. She was being put in a hospital for a psych evaluation at my request. I will admit, I don't know how it went, because that day I had packed my bags and I was gone. I still feel bad to this day, but do I regret it? No. After I left town, I had nothing but bad luck. No one would hire me and I ended up homeless for a while. Then we flick almost a month ago when I broke my vow and came crawling straight back to this hell. Anyways, that is plenty of backstory. Now you may be wondering, how do I know I am next? This thing is methodical. And it seems to be smart. It goes down street by street, house by house, but never in a perfect order. Probably to still have the element of surprise, but it never does the same house more than once every few months. It's almost like it farms us, and despite the number of witnesses, we still now almost know nothing about this hellhound. Most of the witnesses are so traumatized in the moment that they bite off their tongue, or at the very least, are so deeply disturbed they refuse to talk about the topic and will shut down at the very mention of it. One new thing to know in this town, church of sorts. I haven't been, but it is most popular than Christianity in this town. It is settled in an old Victorian style chapel just a few streets down from my parents' house. They call themselves the Silent Ones. They seem to worship the evil that stalks this town, but to join you must have had a family member taken. The ones who see this thing are considered chosen and make up the majority of the priests, hence the name. I refuse to step foot in those doors. I've never been a religious person, and I am sure hell not going to worship that creature that preys upon this cursed town. When I got back, I was told by an old family friend, one of the town's elders, that my mother had been taken by it a few months back. I couldn't even say I was surprised. It got everyone eventually, even the members of the Silent Ones it seemed. But the only people it didn't seem to take were pregnant. Couldn't have taken itself. The source of its future food, could it, I guess? I've been here for just over 2 weeks now. I'm living in my old home, and even the slightest noise wakes me in a complete panic. The last few nights I haven't slept. Running on monsters and coffee. Every night I hear a loom closer and closer, slowly taking people from my street again. And I just know I'm next. And if not, it will happen soon. Every house has taken once every rotation. I have a few things to help me for when the creature comes knocking. I bought myself a hunting rifle. It's only meant for rabbits, but it's something. At this rate, I may end up just using it on myself. I'm so scared. I can't let it take me too. Here is what I know about the creature. It is lean and... oh no. No. Not tonight, please. I just heard its banshee scream from outside of my window. It seems I've run out of time. Someone, please help me. I just know this gun is useless. I'm gonna post this now. I can hear something creeping through my house, just out of sight. I've got my gun loaded, and all I can do is pray. If I don't reply by the morning time, now I didn't go missing. You know the truth. Wish me luck.